Was your father a good example of a husband? I'm not talking about was he a great father, but was your father a good example of of a husband when you were? Was he a great example of a husband when you were a little kid growing up? And if you didn't have this figure in your life that was a great example for you, you're going to struggle. You're going to be deficit in this. I didn't have a good example because my father died when I was 6, and my mother never remarried. She never even dated. I don't know that me and my brothers would have let her, but so all I knew about marriage was what I'd seen on television. Well, back during the 60s and 70s, it was all pretty clean back then, and what I'd seen out in the community. Well, most people act right out in public. It's that being married behind closed doors after dark that we need some help. And so when my own marriage was struggling, I knew I was deficit. I knew that. And so I just set a course of study that I'm going to figure out what it takes to be a great husband. And it's hard. Women, y'all are always looking for your man to be your rock, to be your champion. But there's not a lot of examples for us guys on how to do this. Women have understood great relationships from the time they were like 8 years old. I mean, they've always kind of gotten it. So for men, it's a little bit trickier than that. And so we're just following the example of what the herd is doing, what all the other guys are doing. And if they're doing bad examples, we're doing the same thing, thinking that's right or that's cool, which a lot of times is nonsense. And that's probably why the divorce rate is 50% or better. So if you didn't have a good example growing up, from your father, your stepfather, or men in your community of what a great husband looks like, I really want you to stop and pick that apart. What do you think a great husband looks like? And start really getting to where you can articulate what are the characteristics of that man. Because if you don't really have some kind of guideline, you're just going to bounce around and do all kind of nonsense. Great husbands aren't afraid to put the time in. And ladies, I know this is more about the guys today, but you can take some of these same concepts and think about, was your mother a great example of a great wife? And, if not, you do the same thing, that you set aside a course of action and that you learn to articulate what would a great wife do. You figure out the system, you put the time in. That's what great partners do. Thank you.